What if there was no heaven? Would you still follow Jesus? Or would you be like, forget this, I'm out? Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. I am so glad that you are here today. Thank you for being here today. And on this channel, we are all about talking about life, Jesus, and the journey of faith in a real, honest, and open way. So if that is something that excites you, if that is something you want to be a part of, be sure to hit subscribe down below and join this community of people who are passionate about that very idea. And like I said, today we are going to be talking about this concept of, if there was no heaven, would you still follow Jesus? And I want to be real clear from the start. I'm not trying to say that there is no heaven. I clearly believe that there is a heaven, that it is going to be great, that you should look forward to it, and that it is going to be beyond our wildest dreams. So you might say, well, Austin, given that, then isn't this question kind of a non sequitur? Why should we even pursue it if that's not the case? But I think the beauty of this question is it reveals what is your primary motivation for following Jesus, which is a very, very powerful thing and something that will determine whether you struggle to grow or whether you can experience a vibrant, growing, dynamic relationship with Jesus, which I think is what we all are after, because that will lead to the full life that is our best life. You see, as I see it, there are three main motivations that I see motivating people to follow Jesus, to pursue godliness, to walk in faith. And two of those I see as extrinsic, subpar, suboptimal motivations that won't lead to real character change, growth, and development, at least not in a healthy, sustainable way. But I see a middle way that answers this question, which is the only way that would say, I would still follow Jesus even if this idea of heaven was out of the picture. So the first motivation that I see for people to follow Jesus is bribery, essentially. It's, what can I get out of it? What are the rewards for it? What's in it for me? And that is where this question comes in. Well, what if there was no heaven? What if you didn't get that reward? Would you still follow Jesus? Because the thing with bribery is, the thing with this idea of only following Jesus to get into heaven, which, again, I'm not saying you shouldn't look forward to it, but I'm saying if that is your primary motivation, what that's going to cause is you to look for the bare minimum, the lowest you have to do to get in. Right? Because if your motivation is to get to heaven, then why do hard stuff that you don't have to do? Why go through that hard process of growth and sanctification and becoming like Christ if you can just do a little bit to get into heaven? If I just have to pray a prayer and that's all it takes, then why grow? And see, that's the problem with this motivation. This is where people begin asking questions. Hey, I know this isn't good for me. This probably isn't what's best, but is it a sin? Can I still do it and go to heaven? Can I do this and go to heaven? Which, by the way, just shows a fundamental misunderstanding of grace and what it takes to get into heaven. But that's beside the point. We'll make that a different video. But you see, when your motivation is heaven, you're going to look for the bare minimum. And this is an extrinsic motivation that's going to struggle to have that stability, that longevity, that sustainability to keep you going, to keep you growing as a Christian, because it's really just about what can you get out of it. And I just don't think that's the most healthy way to approach Christianity. I don't think that will lead you to the best, most dynamic relationship with God, because it's kind of a one-sided relationship. It's, what can I do to get something from you at no cost to me? But on the other side of the spectrum from bribery, but at the other end of the spectrum from bribery would be fear. And I see this so often. This one really breaks my heart, because I see so many people, their primary motivation for following God, for doing what he says, is out of fear. Because it's not their fault. But in many churches, I see this teaching that is so sad to me, but it's essentially, hey, God's really big and powerful and scary, and if you don't do what he says, he will send you to hell forever, so get out of his way, do what he says, and maybe you won't burn forever. And that, it's always going to put a wall between you and God. That you might conform to what he says out of fear, but you'll never be transformed inwardly. You'll do what he says because, I don't know, no one wants to burn and die forever. But you're not going to love God. You're not going to be able to have a relationship with him if you're scared of him. You're not going to be able to connect with him authentically. You're not going to develop love for him if your primary motivation is out of fear. And look, I get the idea of having reverence for God, which I believe is what the Bible talks about when it talks about the fear of God, not in a crippling, like, don't hurt me sense, but in just an awestruck reverence for God who is completely other, who has all power. But yet, this is so important, his almighty power is always bridled by his unconditional love. That God doesn't use his power to harm us, but it is always bridled by his unconditional love for us. That as Jesus hung on the cross, he allowed himself to not use his power, but allowed his love to overcome that desire that could have been there to just get off that cross, to get out of that pain, that his power is bridled by his love. And so fear, that's not going to inspire real character growth and change. And bribery, that's not going to inspire it. And if both of those cases, if bribery or fear are your motivations, then if there is no heaven, you're going to say, forget this, I'm out. But there is a middle way. And the middle way is being motivated by love. And it's an intrinsic motivation that will be sustainable, that will have the longevity to allow you to continue to grow all the years of your life. And love, what I mean by this is that you are motivated by a love of God, and not just of God, but of God's ways, that you are so convinced of God's goodness that you believe that, you know what, God as the designer of life has created a way to live that will be best for me, and that I completely trust him, so I want to do his will. You see, as long as our will is conflicted with God's will, there will always be tension. And sometimes we will do God's will because we want something from him, or sometimes we will do God's will because we're scared of him. But that doesn't result in real heart change. It doesn't result in real growth. It doesn't result in transformation. It results in conformity, but not transformation of the heart. And that's what we're looking for. We're not looking to conform, we're looking to transform. And that it only ever happens through genuine love for God. That is what inspires real change. You see, when we love God, we would say that even if there was no heaven, I would still be in this because I know that God's ways are the best ways. I know that God's way leads to life. I know that God's will lead me to living fully, which we talk about all the time on this channel. Just doing it out of a desire for a reward, that won't transform you. That won't give you that full life. Doing it out of fear, that won't lead to a full life. But being motivated by a love of God and recognizing that righteousness is inherently worthy, that righteousness is beautiful, that sin is nonsensical, that will transform you. And that will lead to the change that I believe you desire and the life that you were created for. Thank you so much for watching this video, guys. It means the world to me. Seriously, if you've watched this video this far, you are absolutely amazing. And I hope that it brings real transformation to your life. And I hope that these videos are making a difference in your life. And if you enjoyed this video, please leave a comment. I love hearing from you guys. That is really the best. It brightens my day. And I love interacting with you guys. If you enjoyed it, click like, and most importantly, click subscribe. Like I said, if you want to be part of this community that's passionate about talking about life, Jesus, and the journey of faith in a real, honest, and open way. So guys, until next time, be on the lookout for more videos, and go out into the world, spread love, and live fully. Peace. Love you guys. See you next time.